I'm Eric.
And I'm Steve.
YouTube and Wizards policies.
Bannings and pre-release.
Let's talk about it.
I wonder if people are just like, why do they always start dancing at the end?
Because it's the ditty.
Yeah, I know.
They don't know that. Welcome, Planeswalkers, to the CollectorMania YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us for episode 16 of Let's Talk About It. A cool milestone we'll talk about briefly.
Yes.
We're at 704,
I think
704 subscribers. Yeah,
if we haven't lost any just by being here.
They know we're working today.
Yeah,
so
really.
They're trying to
They're just like,
demoralize us.
let's just get out of here.
But thanks, guys, for sticking with us. The first thing we'll talk about,
which is kind of related to us
Yeah.
getting 700 subscribers, which was kind of like a big whammy as far as like finding that out and then finding that out.
Yeah. I'm sure everybody's heard about it Tuesday evening, probably at around 9 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
I got an email saying that, and I'm sure you've seen it, everybody's talking about the new YouTube policy changes for YouTube partners. So here we've got kind of a quick excerpt, you know what I mean? Excerpt, yeah, from the, thank you.
Yeah.
From the YouTube email that they sent us. So
I guess the hub.
the
Google.
mothership.
From Google.
Yeah, from Google.
Basically.
Under new eligibility requirements, we need...
So just in case no one knew before, because I mean there are people that aren't necessarily YouTubers that are on here. They're just people that watch YouTube casually. Before, the requirements were basically you just had to have 10,000 views in a certain amount of period of time.
Lifetime.
So I mean that's not very hard to reach, really. We reached it in probably 2-3 months.
2 or 3 months, yeah.
Back when we were 200 subscribers, something like that. Not even a blip on the radar. It was achievable, and I liked it. It was pretty nice. Hitting that goal of monetization definitely puts wind behind your sails.
Yes, I agree.
And I feel like rolling into this, that has taken the wind out a little bit. Probably for a lot of people that are maybe just a little bit smaller than we are. Because, I mean...
Anybody below this threshold, I think, has that feeling. We talked about it. Steve said, hey, dude, I'll keep making videos with you.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
If it takes us a year, let's just keep doing it.
I don't think it will take us that long.
No, I agree. And, I saw some people that reacted differently. They said, some people were like, I'm done. And other people were saying, let's just do it. We have 30 days. I don't know if we'll get there, but we're going to try to amp it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, if you guys are watching us and you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. It really helps now.
Yeah.
Not that we necessarily need it or anything like that, but it definitely would help as far as just getting us back to where we were, which is kind of funny because we have to re-achieve in a way, but whatever.
Some YouTubers were saying in the past they've moved the goalpost, but they've never not brought people in that qualified.
Yeah, we didn't get grandfathered in, which was kind of surprising to me too.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense, I guess. If they're drawing a line, because they're talking about this affects 90% of YouTubers, they'd be grandfathering in the whole website at that point,
Yeah, and I guess before we go any further, we should actually talk about what has changed. Because people may be like, what?
In this email, you can see here, you need, the two requirements are 4,000 hours of watch time.
40,000 would be...
I saw a guy who just said that twice, and I'm just like, wait, what? And we're doing pretty fair on that. We're in good shape with that statistic, but the other thing is you need a minimum of 1,000 subscribers. And as we mentioned, we're at 704, 706, somewhere around there. So
that's the part we're a little low on. The watch time, whatever. The subscribers, that's kind of a And we've been gaining subscribers pretty quickly over the last couple of months. I can't even remember what the statistic is, but pretty consistently is what I would say. And I think a lot of that is just making the change between knowing what to do for ourselves as far as being exposed, because I feel like a lot of people just don't know our videos exist, rather than our videos are crap, because I think we actually do pretty good.
Hopefully. If not, let us know.
Yeah, really. Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you can see there are 30 days. I think it's February 20th or something that, or no, it'd be the 16th or something like that. No, right there, February 20th.
Yeah.
To get that. So,
Yeah, if we hit it, we hit it. We don't, we don't. Yeah. We'll just, as soon as we
going.
do get to 1,000, we'll just reapply and blah, blah, blah. It's not really going to stop us, which is kind of a message I would probably put out to pretty much anybody that's in our same spot. This really, really sucks for people that are trying to start a new channel, though, and which is what oddly enough, we were actually talking about branching out a little
Yeah.
bit and making a few channels, and then this happened. It's just like, well, no, we're
We're
sticking.
gonna stay under this umbrella now. Thanks.
Yeah, really, thanks, or not Wizards. Thanks YouTube for showing us the error of our ways before we made it. Really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, for new YouTubers, this might be a little bit more of an issue. I would definitely say, and this is just parroting what I've heard all over YouTube, I 100% agree with what a lot of people are saying about, like, make this your hobby. This is not your job.
No.
I mean, those days, unless you're reaching like the 50,000 subscriber mark or whatever, are probably long gone, you know? And really where YouTube is kind of like throwing this, a lot of people are just like, this is because of Logan Paul and blah, 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 which I 100% disagree with.
Yeah.
I think a lot of stuff behind the scenes is going wrong as far as like what we were talking about before, like with bot channels and stuff like that are just like exploiting that 10,000 view thing and making money that way. So this just makes it that much harder for those channels to get monetized and make money, because now they have to have an audience, which if you're just putting out really crappy videos that people watch for like a second, it's just like, this is crap.
Yeah.
You can't really do that easily.
You could get the views or the time maybe, but not the subs. Like,
yeah.
And, it is harsh for those new people. Like, I like what you said, Steve, as far as just keep doing it. Like, if you see somebody that's near there, just throw them a like or a sub or whatever, and get them there if you can. And then the one thing I just thought of when you mentioned that, like, I can remember probably 2.5 years ago where you and I were at a movie theater way early, and we were saying, like, we should just do this.
Yeah, really.
And that was like the point where we said, we're going to do this now. And we started doing altars and box openings, and but like, even if this is like your impetus to get going, like, I'd say get going now. Like, there's no reason not to do it today. Like,
yeah, it's just a little bit harder, and it's not harder to make videos or anything like that. Like the creation process hasn't changed, obviously. No. It's just the reward at the end of the rainbow kind of thing. And yeah, like I said, it puts a lot of wind in your sails when you hit that first like milestone of like being monetized, blah blah. And like you said, where this is really affecting is the people that make like $100 a year on their YouTube account, which $100 a year may not be a whole lot to a lot of people, but at the same time, that's like a new mic, that's a new camera, that's a new stand, that's a new something, that you didn't have before. But I mean, I guess it depends on where you're at, really.
Yeah, it really does.
Because I could definitely see where, like, I was talking to Brandy about this because she was thinking about making her own like reptile, thing, and it's just like why would I even try now? And it's just like, well, with that kind of approach, you're never gonna get there. So
definitely give it a try if you're out there, and like, it feels like the Dark Deal with Vader. Like, this could change again at any moment. Like,
who knows? I mean, they could raise it to 10,000 in the next week, but even if they did, and we've talked about this, for me and Eric, it doesn't really matter. We do this for fun, basically, which is weird. We're like torturing ourselves, I guess. Yeah. But really, at this time, and we've really talked about this in the last couple of weeks to a lot of people, is it's just the skills you learn from trying to do this are absolutely insane. Like, we could probably apply it to several places and just put this on our applications and just say, look what I've learned in the last 9 months doing a YouTube channel. And it's crazy because you really do learn a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's a rewarding process, like, even if that hill's a little bit more steep now. So yeah,
definitely recommend it if you're thinking about it. But like I said, think of it as a hobby. It's not a job, because you're not going to pay your bills with this at all. Yeah. Next. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure you guys have seen the drama regarding like the judges and registered sex offenders and all this stuff going on in Magic. I think it was Thursday last week, we got an email, of course, being a shop, regarding some policy changes. It might be a little small to read there, but the whole idea is they're trying to make like events and stores that represent Wizards and Magic and D&D safer for everybody. And what that's requiring is, like, every store's got to, sign up for a few things, saying I'm going to welcome everybody. It's going to be a clean, safe space, like, deal with street dates, MSRPs, all that stuff. It's kind of like a retailer code of conduct or whatever. Yeah, like, and one thing that they're adding, I think they're adding 3 things, but they're saying, like, you need to reasonably prove, I think that was their word, that like these, like, anybody employed or retained by the shop is like safe for kids. So not on a registry or a convicted like sex offender or something like that. It's obviously a good thing.
I mean, I would even like. I'm sure there's like something that adds onto the list of like somebody that's committed like violent crimes. In the past,
I think
stuff
it's
like
domestic violence and stuff.
Because I mean,
too,
all of that is kind of related in its its own terrible little bubble, I guess. I think it's kind of interesting because we do have not necessarily differing opinions on this, but two different perspectives on this. Because I think overall we agree that this is actually a good move, but I think the fact that you own a shop and maintain a shop and now you have to like look into all that maybe be a little bit different for you than me, which is just coming at it from a consumer perspective, which is just like, I'm 100% for this, but I don't see any of the costs, I don't see anything like that,
and it's all too like up in the air, I think, right now. Obviously, like you said, that's important. If we, and maybe this is a good thing, if some shops can get some of these not maybe dangerous people, but like just people that maybe shouldn't be at a card shop with kids or whatever out of the picture. There people are talking about making this like places safer for just all sorts of people in general, and that's a good thing overall. As Steve mentioned, the tough part, and I think this might be the thing I'm frustrated about as a store owner, what they've said, they did it in their Facebook group for shop owners. They just kind of blasted this like legal jargon out, and they pretty much just said you need to reasonably prove that this is safe. And they said nothing else about that. People were asking this guy, I think his name is Nelson Brown, their like social media guy, and they're just saying like, what does reasonably prove that?
Like what does this mean?
Right. Is that a full background check? Is that a check the sex registry like offender list on your browser? Does that mean like, hey, you cool? People say that, like, what does that mean? And then the other thing that is very ambiguous is, where does that line end? Obviously a store owner, a TO, somebody behind a register, that makes sense. But then you think of, what about like a GM that comes in for adventure leagues?
Well, I even like, me and Brandy even thought about me, like, would I have to go through that process? Obviously I don't care about going through the process, but like, I spend a lot of time there and I help a lot of people, and it's just like, where does that, like you're saying, where does that line get drawn?
Are you retained by the shop? Is Kyle retained by the shop?
Exactly. It's just like,
we had people help us on our website. Are they retained? Is our accountant retained? Is our graphic designer who did our logo retained? Like, it, GMs, people were talking, there's another company called, I think it's Double Exposure, and they do board game demos, and they sent us an email yesterday that's like, I'm sure everybody's heard of this, we're kind of demoers, we come to stores, we're associated with you, we're asking the same questions as you are because we're now in the mix. And they're not even related to Wizards or any of that. Like, that's the thing. And then there's another side of it. Beyond all of this, who counts, what counts? People said, like, the one thing that Wizards came back with was consult legal counsel.
And I hadn't even seen that yet.
Right.
It's just like,
it's just like, what does this mean?
It's 100% Wizards just trying to like cover their ears and then just passing the actual difficult part off to you.
Right.
Like, it's just like, I understand that they're probably trying to get their fingers out of it as much as they can. Like, we make cards, that's all we do. But really in the end, they're the ones that are issuing all these policies. So it's just like, you're involved, whether you want to be or not. You need to figure this out. And a lot of people have brought up the same argument with like, if they start really getting into this, that really doesn't show very favorably for the whole court case that's going on with the judges right now. That almost like transitions them even more on the side of the judges, in favor of them, because now they are, essentially contracted to do this, this, and this, and it's just like, well, that's starting to sound more and more like an employee, not a volunteer.
Right.
So it's just like, Wizards at this point is probably walking on eggshells. They make one wrong statement and they are just
locked in
deep.
one way or another.
So it's that's the part that I don't think a lot of people are really thinking about with this whole mess. And
I wasn't aware of it, so that's a very interesting side of the story.
I mean, it definitely, I think we get to learn about that next month, actually. I think that's coming up, which is kind of interesting as well, finding out what they finally decide to do with that, because I know it's been a huge legal battle, and who knows, it might be deferred or whatever for another whatever amount of years or months or whatever. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen in the next year in Magic. You know, who knows? I think that overall, this is probably something that I think, honestly, a lot of shops, not necessarily go as far as like background check or anything like that, but I think a lot of shops automatically do this. It's just like, if you're weird, you're not working here, basically. Like, it's not good business. First of all, I mean, that's like the cut and dry of it, but it's also not like a good feeling to have somebody working for you that doesn't necessarily, like, it's just like,
you don't trust
something's off about that person, you know?
And I mean, like,
what you can never tell. I mean, this should not be, you know, like 100% like somebody that you've known forever, you know, you can find out they're doing terrible things, and it's just like, you can never be 100% sure, but that shouldn't put you in fear of having to think everybody is, I guess.
Right.
This is a weird, like, topic, because it's just like I'm all over the place on it, because I mean, I don't know.
Obviously, safer space is a good thing. Like, the question is this the right way to do it? I wish that there was a little bit more of a concrete answer saying, do a background check. Well, you know. Yeah,
like just a FAQ on, or not even FAQ, but just like a this, and this need to be met for requirements. And you know, if every judge everywhere just gets a background check once a year, I know that's kind of a pain in the butt, but I mean, to do almost anything you have to.
People were saying that some systems do that for judges.
Oh
judges,
yeah, Pokemon just automatically does it.
You've got to do it, right?
And like, it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, it seems kind of obvious once you look at it that way, and it's just like, well, just do it. I mean, if you have nothing to hide, then just do it.
Right.
Like I said.
And that's, I think, the biggest thing is that Wizards has like, every store would comply.
Yeah.
I think, unless they had a problem or they, you know, whatever. But like, if they gave us a guideline, we would follow it. We've stores jump through hoops all the time. Like,
stay on the WPN. I mean, there's like a lot of things you have to do for that. So it's just like.
But the trick is people are saying this is really like shapeless as far as the instruction here, and there's like no listed consequences. And like, I saw a lot of people saying this is just them, like you said, it's out of their hands. They're CYA. They don't care. Like, if something does come up and there's some horrible monster out there at a game shop, like, Wizards just going to say they complied. They were supposed to comply, and they didn't retain legal counsel. And like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, there's that side of it too, where it's just like, even if you are necessarily a shop and like, say you don't want to do any of this, and then you get kicked out of the WPN program. And say you're completely innocent, like you're 100% innocent, you just don't, I mean, whatever reason, X reason, you don't want to give away, blah, blah, blah. Now your shop, what do you get, like a star in the window that says, I don't check? You know, it's just like...
They say to display those, and like I've seen people do that, because it's an agreement to the customer and to the company.
Yeah.
Like, and sure, if you, like, you know, like, we're discussing what we need to do as far as that, like, but... that's something everybody should be aware of. If your store doesn't follow this, like, there isn't a gold star, but like, there's clearly, like, these people don't deserve a gold star.
Because I know there are shops out there that do all kinds of shady crap, and they're definitely not WPN, and it's just like,
yeah, I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah, it's a bigger topic for, I don't know, a lot of people.
More will probably come. That'd be my guess. But yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else to really say about it now, besides like, it could. I think it will be good in the end. I agree with you 100% that I think Wizards is definitely like taking the back foot on this, and I don't think they necessarily should.
No.
But they, like I said, could have a lot of legal things that they're trying to dance around at this point anyway. Mm-hmm. It's kind of bringing up a lot of, I guess, almost like tension. Like, it's just like
that's all I can kind of think about it, is just unease. Like, obviously an important thing, especially given the attention it's had recently, but I feel that this reaction didn't really address anything.
I don't think it was personally like I wouldn't, enough is not the right word, but you know, the way they put it out, you know, on like a Friday afternoon, it's just like, here's this, like, hopefully no one really sees this and reports anything on it. It's just like, why are you trying to be like shady about this? Like, not shady, but you know, like, kind of like,
it comes off that way. Like,
it really does. And that's what I think they're kicking themselves in the butts about. It's just like, why are not kicking, you know, they're I'm trying to figure out
just tripping
a
themselves,
polite way to say that.
Yeah.
Because I have a bunch of ways I can say it. It's just none of them are YouTube friendly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why not just come out and be like upfront about all this and be like, hey, there's been these problems, you know, that have been brought to our attention. We're trying to address it and make it right. This is what we're doing to make the community safer. And like they could lead on that, and everybody would look at it as positive.
Right.
Like it'd be like, oh, Wizards finally doing something about this. Oh, this is awesome. I don't know. Instead, it's just like, well, they released this thing Friday afternoon. Well, no one was paying attention to it. You know, mainly the shops are the only ones that really heard about it. Blah blah blah. Except for now, it's completely blown up on YouTube, which they should have seen. You know, coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
It's just like, who handles their like, I guess, yeah, their
public interface,
their image, really,
Yeah.
because like a lot of that is damaged by YouTube, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they keep giving people ammunition, and that's really where I'm just like, Wizards, you're a multi-million-dollar company. Why don't you have somebody that knows what they're doing handling all this?
And maybe they do, and maybe it is a much more sticky situation. Like they might be talking for months and saying, we can't comment on this because that'll mess up this court case. We can't comment on this because this or that. Like we'll paint ourselves into too many corners. Like,
well, okay, here's my kind of perspective on that. Whether they win this whole judge thing or lose this judge thing, it's negative for them either direction.
Mm-hmm.
I would say at least doing something like this and, like I said, being positive about it would be better in the long run for the company than saying we can't say this because this will get us in trouble with the blah, blah, blah. You know, you can obviously figure out a way to word it and put it that it won't get you in trouble. I mean, they've got lawyers on their payroll and all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's just like, try and save what you have, you know, not worry necessarily about what will happen in the future at this point, because really you're just kind of burning your own bridges, really, in a lot of ways. If you piss off your customer base, you're not going to have anything to fight for anyway. So,
yeah, stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah. We'll talk about that more in the next couple of months, maybe, if it comes up again. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, whatever, this is good, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's a good thing overall. Maybe a little knee-jerk. I think that's the way to sum it up. So, next?
Yeah.
So if you guys were tuned in on Monday, Wizards came out with their next banned and restricted update. A lot of standard.
Yeah, 4 cards.
Was there anything at EDH, or is that next?
They said there was no changes. The only thing they changed was they took the silver borders off, which,
yes, that
which
does make sense.
we, you know, just kind of touch on that for a second. We kind of talked about before, you know, maybe they were going to, like, make some silver border cards legal, you know, who knows. Obviously they didn't. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a good move? I agree with it. I'm just like, whatever, I don't need silver border cards mucking up my game, really.
I think overall, to keep a cohesive game, I think it was a good idea to return it to normal.
Yeah,
I'm glad they did it for a little bit of time just to make the set release fun for Unstable, but you know, what stops anybody from doing that anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And they had a whole article come out about it, which I read most of it, and they had some really good points about that. Like, I guess it was an article, it was a web post, but you know what I mean. Where they talked about how, like, this kind of showed them that they could kind of do fun things like that every once in a while, and people will generally be okay with it, which I agree. I mean, like, say the next Unstable set or Unset comes out in the next 5 years, and they do the same thing. I would be 100% okay with that, because honestly, in our play group, I think I played one Unstable game out of all those months, and that's just how, like, meh it really was, like, in the end, because I have a Unstable Commander deck, you have an Unstable Commander deck, and, like, we played here, and then, like I said, outside of here, where we're filming it and actually putting it together for a reason, I may have played one game where there was an Unstable deck in it, and it really didn't change anything. It just felt like regular Commander. So,
I think, you know, where they ended it was good. Have some fun with it, but don't interrupt anything. And I doubt anything did get interrupted. Like, we were in the middle of the league, and we just said, "Yeah, that doesn't apply here."
Yeah,
and that's it. Like, that's how hard it was to deal with. You know,
which could have been a big reason. Excuse me, why we didn't see more games of it, but whatever.
Yeah, like, you know, and that is true. Like, the set came out in kind of like week 3 or 4 of the league out of 6.
And we can't, obviously, you can't throw something like that in the league. Like, that just messes with everything.
Right. And I think overall, if you want to play it at the kitchen table, or go to a shop and agree and say, okay, I'm only going to play if people want me to, or
we'll literally do what we did and build one deck. And, like, if you know you're getting together with friends that have other decks, like, you may play a game, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, moving back into standard bannings.
I forgot about that, because I could have sworn
It was on the 15th that it changed back.
Yeah,
so
and I didn't see any commander stuff.
There was it was on the
like
the commander rulings or whatever.
Sure. Back to standard. Attune with Aether, of course, banned. Energy got the big hit, I'd say, and then of course Ramen Up Red.
Such an awesome card.
Which one?
This one.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
Bobby and I were talking about it. You think of this as like a single green? That's really good.
Well, and like in this card in particular, a lot of people have brought up that this is actually in one of the challenge decks or whatever they're called nowadays, the Planeswalker decks, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just like now there's a card that's banned inside of a Wizards released product as well, and it's just, well, obviously it's all Wizards released product, but you know,
like custom built,
designed
for the player.
Yeah. So it's just like that doesn't look good. Like we kind of talked about this before, but I don't think a lot of this looks good in my opinion. I don't think that having a lot of cards get banned like every year now, you know, for like the last 2 years has been great. I don't think that's a good image for the game to have overall. Yeah, it's going to happen, but I don't, like I said, in these numbers, like I think somebody brought up the point that the last really, really big banning, there was like 10 cards that got banned in like an entire standard rotation. We're at 9 right now. So, I mean, that's really close.
Yeah.
So
not good.
No.
Next one, Rogue Refiner, of course, another energy card. Steve and I were discussing, do you think this is just a busted mechanic? Or
I think a lot of that is true. I think that energy might have been a little bit too much for I guess this meta. Like there's not enough answers for it, which is the real problem. Like we talked about before, they try to throw a few in there with like Solemnity and a few other ones, but for the most part, those don't necessarily take the energy away from your opponent. They just stop them from getting more.
Right.
But at that point, like the damage might already be done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like look at this card. If you look at it from the perspective of energy, yeah, it's absolutely busted. I mean, you get 2 energy and draw a card for 3 mana and a 3/2, which the power is what really pushes it over the edge because it's a great attacker.
Yeah.
But if you take this out of the meta of energy, this card is terrible. I mean, not terrible. It still draws you a card for 3/2, but
I do that.
For the most part,
yeah,
you know, dies to shock.
Yeah, it does. Like, I think you're right. The weakest part besides the text is like, you know, in the cost. I think that's a little prohibitive. But in a colored dual land like environment, not that bad. But the 2 toughness, like, I had a friend at the shop who was talking about. They're trying to put too many like effects on creatures now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Somebody else was talking about that too. It's just like the creatures are so good, but the spells have gone the opposite direction so far backwards that now we can't really deal with the creatures that are so good.
Right.
Like a great example of this is the new Chupacabra card. Like that card's ridiculous. You know, 2 colors, 2 black for a creature that comes in and destroys whatever you want and is body left over. It's a 2/2 creature.
Okay.
It's like wild, like dark something Chupacabra. I can't remember what it is.
I've got the image because I sorted the binder, but
I mean the card's great. Like it's EDH playable automatically just because it's it's creature removal on a creature. And this like we've had effects like that in the past with like Skin Render and what was the other one? I kept saying, I did a video like yesterday, and I kept saying Cut Purse, but that's not his name at all. It's like a Necrotol. No, it's not Necrotol. It's like a 2/2, or it's a 3/3 assassin that comes in and destroys a non-black, non-artifact creature. I really should have looked at the name because I knew I was probably going to bring it up again. But anyway, those creatures have existed for a while, but this one literally has no restrictions on it. It's just destroy whatever creature you want to.
Jeez, yeah.
So it's like the power scale thing. It's just going up and up and up.
Right.
On the creature side of it.
You think of other things that have that problem, like the first thing that comes to mind is Reflector Mage.
Yeah.
Another banned card. Like, you think of cards like Hostage Taker. 9 times out of 10, a judge call is, what happens with my Hostage Taker at F&M? Like,
well, and it's what's funny is like both of those, all 3 of these effects have usually been on spells, not creatures.
Right. And now they're on both.
Yeah.
And they have flash or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Hostage Taker is a great example. I didn't even think about that card, but that is 100% a great example because usually you wouldn't be able to blink that type of effect.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that I keep looking at.
Yeah. So, goodness. I think they gotta either, if it's a mechanic problem, like play the mechanic. If your stuff is energy based and you're not picking up that it's too strong, and you think of like, what was the Aetherworks Marvel?
Yeah.
Another energy thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously that's not the bad part about it. I mean, there's a good engine for it, but it's the what you can do with it. But it's another thing that revolved around energy that got too out of hand.
It's almost like Kaladesh should have just been its own block, and like for like well, obviously it was its own block, but I mean it should have had its own time in standard and then rotated out kind of thing.
Like 4 sets or something. Yeah.
Because it's a great set, and the cards in here are amazing, and that's not what we're complaining about at all. I don't, at least I'm not complaining about, because I think it's awesome. I think they did a killer job on it. Like, those were the last 2 sets that I can remember that were actually really good.
I'd agree.
And I think that might be factoring into a lot of it as well. Because if you look at, like, the power level of Kaladesh, and then you take it to Amonkhet, you're just like, why am I even playing this garbage?
Yeah.
Like, obviously there's some good cards in it, but
much more scattered.
Scarab God, yay!
Yeah. A few handful versus like you can think of a good cycle, and like all the Gearhulks.
Oh god,
they're real good.
Like that was reminiscent of the Titans. Like, and that struck me as like a flavor thing. Like, oh, this is awesome because this is like the Titans. I want to play this all day. So I think honestly Dominaria will be a lot like this. I think we'll see like a huge punch up when we get to Dominaria. I think these last 2 sets, like Rivals is fine, but it's definitely not, once again, it's not Kaladesh. So I think our next big power outlet is going to be Dominaria.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
And that'll be the first like set that they're sticking to exclusively one block. There's not going to be a small set. So all the mechanics will be self-contained. That may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. Wait until April. Our 3rd card, Rampaging Ferocidon, I think our only rare that got banned.
Yeah. I like this card a lot. It went right into my Karizev deck because it just makes sense. It was a little tough just because of the monkey coming in and dealing me damage every turn, but I figured, I'll get there faster than my opponent's racing at that time. Point. I could definitely see where this card would have become even more of an issue than it already is. Like we talked about, they retroactively banned these 2 cards just to make sure Ramming Up Red didn't take over entirely, because it was like the second big contender, really. I don't know. I think this card is a little bit more deal with. I mean, you can deal with it a little easier than energy necessarily, but whatever. They needed something to get taken away, I guess.
And this is just another one that's just like, why does this cost 3?
Yeah.
Like 3.
Well, why is it so easy to cast? Is my thing. Like, why is it 2 colorless and a red instead of like 2 red and a colorless? I think that would make this even a little bit more fair.
Yeah, or something like, or make him red green or whatever. I don't know if all the like most. I guess there's an even spread. That was a dumb thing to say. But like the fact that this is Menace, like there's ways to give these haste. It's pumps.
It's an amazing attacker. It's a really good card, and I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about it for Commander because it really just does what it does. Like, it becomes another one of those pyretic rituals or whatever it's called. No, that's not right.
Sulfuric Vortex.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. It just becomes another one of those that's just a creature. Yeah, it kind of hurts like token decks and decks that are like blinking everything all the time. So there's that angle, but I guess I'm looking at it from a weird perspective anyway because I'm bringing up Commander
again. It's tough, being Commander players and kind of like a Commander podcast, videocast, like, what do you say? Obviously, it's
we haven't played Standard in like years. We're everything that we know about these cards is like secondhand as far as like Standard goes.
Customers coming in and saying, I got banned, I need to pick up this or that, or
So maybe, if we're looking at these wrong, just let us know in the comments. Yeah, really, because we may not have all the information on these cards that we need to, but yeah, like I said, I'm happy that they kind of like looked at that angle and were just like, if we do this, we probably should do this too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just unhappy that they had to ban anything. So it's like, again, mixed feelings. I feel like I'm like one of those people that's just like,
overall
today,
Yeah. The last one here, Ramen Up Ruins, of course, kind of like, the name of the deck.
I do have a lot of experience with this card on the other hand, and this card is absolutely amazing.
It's real good.
Like I've won so many games off of the back of this card, it's not even funny.
Yeah. And you think of, like, I read that article, and maybe we'll link to that if we can find it, what they were talking about, and I think that's a perfect point, because normally it isn't the top 2 decks that get banned, it's the linchpins of the top deck, or the thing that everybody's playing that everybody hates, like, and here they took out Energy, which was a top performer. I think they linked some statistics of matchups and like win percentages and
then getting to that point too. I don't think they necessarily killed either of these decks. Really. I think they just kind of. I don't even think they really weakened the Energy deck that much. Like they made it less consistent, which is obviously really good for, you know, the problems they've been having, but they didn't weaken it by any means.
No.
There's just cards that fit right into that place. Ramen Up Red, obviously you're taking away their one of their feature cards, but I once again don't really think you're killing the deck by any means. I think you're just kind of like, they can't do this anymore. Now they just got to find something else to do.
Yeah. And overall, I think good thing. I mean, I'm thinking back to the days of Oath of the Gatewatch where it was tough to play in Standard for people because they're just like, I don't want to get Reflector Maged or Emmer-cooled anymore. You know, like, and like from what I've heard, it's, you know, Tamura Energy and Ramen Up Red, and not a good thing.
Yeah, but you also don't want to get that side of, I don't want to play Standard because my card may not be legal next week. Like, that's...
People used to say that about Modern. They'd be like, Splinter Twin got banned. What am I going to do? Like, Deathrite Shaman. Like, and that's true overall. Like, we used to gripe. I remember when I used to play Dragon Ball Z, there were some cards that got banned. It wasn't bad. I think they eventually changed some things, but you look, like, I've never played Yu-Gi-Oh! I've heard there's literally sheets of cards that you can only have one of, or...
Yeah.
Kyle brought this up on Sunday, or Saturday, I think. We were talking about, like, what it means to ban a card, and all it does is it increases the barrier for a new person.
Yeah. Because
they'll say, oh, well, like, even if they don't plan on touching Magic, that's an excuse. I'm not going to play because whatever I might pick up could get banned.
Well... Like, literally, you can open up a Kaladesh pack and get, like, 3 banned cards in it. Like, that, if that doesn't say something, like, really.
Yeah. And just overall, it's one more thing to, like, come to the table with. As a new player, they may, like, some people come to F&M with, like, the dual deck Merfolk vs. Goblins they bought at Walmart. And they're just like, what? Like, why are these legal?
Can't play this.
And it's just one more hurdle that somebody's got to jump, and they've got to understand. And, well, you know, everybody's capable of understanding it, but they've got to get that information that this card's banned. Why? You know, it's just one more thing in front of new players, and it's not a good thing as design. You know.
Well, and I understand that job is probably incredibly hard too. Yeah. So I'm not really. It's not like I'm mad at Wizards or anything like that. I'm just like, okay, guys, like, let's try not to make this like a trend. Like, I don't want this to become a thing just for the health of the game. Really, obviously, it really doesn't affect me. When something gets banned in Standard, it just makes it cheaper for me to buy. So it's like, whatever.
But even Commander, like that's a grooming for the health of the game.
Yeah.
If Kakusho gets banned, like I remember when that was a thing, everybody's like, what? You know, and like Sylvan Library, same thing. Like,
well, even Prophet of Crufix.
Yeah, like, Prophet of Crufix is a perfectly good example. You know, you think of Edgar. People may have bought that Edgar deck and been like, oh, I can't wait.
I'm going to build a 1v1 deck.
Yeah, and then he gets axed, and it's just like, okay, this is pretty clear as to why. Like,
well, like, even after watching our last league finishers, like, watching that Arabo deck.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, this card shouldn't be around in 1v1. Yeah. Like, it's just two effects that are outside of the game, essentially, in the command zone are just too powerful because it gives you a huge leg up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things like that, yeah, I don't know. Well, that's kind of a different take on it, too, because, you know, obviously Commander has its own, like, group of people that bans cards. It's not Wizards banning the cards. It's that group of people. So it's, like, contained with its own little bubble. And a lot of people complain about that group as well. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people say that they keep their favorite pet cards in the pool just because they're the favorites, blah, 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 which, you know, I could potentially see that. But overall, Commander's very healthy. Mm-hmm. I honestly thought Standard was really healthy for a long time, and then all of a sudden everything just went to heck. I don't know what exactly changed, but...
Yeah, I think, you know, it's tough. Maybe we'll know someday if it's the Futures League or whatever, and, like, or...
Well, I honestly think that they should look at, instead of banning cards, they should print answers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been everybody's perspective on this. Like, just solve it instead of getting rid of it, I guess is the thing.
Yeah.
And that may be harder than we think it is, but
right.
I honestly don't see how. If they've designed so many sets.
Yeah.
You know?
You said it's obviously a hard job. I don't think I could...
No.
You know, we're scratching the surface with speculation.
Yeah.
These people have probably played who knows how many games and done this for how many sets. Like, they know what they're doing, but I think sometimes, like, maybe designs or, like, you might be able to see a trend if certain sets are made by certain people or played by certain people. And
well, a lot of people are saying that trend is Mark Rosewater.
Yeah, like,
it's just like,
yeah.
I mean, you look at Innistrad, you look at Kaladesh, and look at those sets, and they're absolutely ridiculously good.
Mm-hmm.
But Innistrad's not such a problem, but Kaladesh definitely has an issue as far as like energy being too good.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have maybe seen this coming. You're adding a whole another resource to the game that hasn't really been tested. Same thing with vehicles. Like, that's two things that they just were like,
put them together.
Let's throw this in this set and see what happens. Yeah. Saddle up, Yeah. And maybe they could have done those one at a time, and it might have been a little bit better. That way we wouldn't have had a whole bunch of vehicles banned in the beginning, and now a whole bunch of energy cards banned in the end. Like I said, I would be interested to know what more standard players feel about this, because, like I said, we're approaching it from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
And it may not affect anyone as harsh as we're thinking it is, or it may just turn people off to standard completely, because I've seen both ways on Facebook as far as like the postings going like, this is terrible, or well
I just built both of these, like I saw that and somebody's like, don't net deck. Like,
yeah, really. I mean, that should be obvious, but
I mean,
it's really hard to in this meta not to do that, because people are so competitive. It's just like, I mean, we could go into a whole another topic about like F&M. Like, it's Friday Night Magic. We're not at a PTQ or anything like that. Just play for fun, for God's sake.
But some people, like in some stores, like our price structure is at least everybody gets at least one pack.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could play whatever you want and just lose like less than $1. As far as you could buy yourself a pack for your entry, but some people want to get in the top quarter to get that second pack for their $5, or higher than that. Like, they've got to win to feel like it's worth it to them. But at some stores, like, you might spend your $5 for entry, and then the top quarter gets 3 packs each, and then more and more.
Even more competitive.
Right. So, like, Wizards always says, like, spread your price pool deep, as far as, or wide, I guess, not deep. But, like, it's one of those things, like, it's obviously a competitive game. You don't, like, Commander, you play to have fun.
Yeah.
Unless you're in a GP or something and you want to win a 1v1 tournament, but, like, that's the reward, is the gameplay. I remember, like, some of my friends or people, current customers, they'll show up with just like, this is the jankiest thing I could come up with. Like, Seth is a perfect example.
Oh yeah.
It'll be like set release day, and he was like, dude, like, look at this. And, like, he'll do okay sometimes, and others
he'll do
not
really well sometimes too.
But that's like the mentality, like you said, just play the game. But some people aren't, and some stores don't reward that.
It's just like, I don't know, the transition from like player to grinder is just like, it's like almost like a psychological like study almost. It's just like, what? How do you get here?
Yeah. And, like, who does Wizards make the game for?
Yeah, really.
And who's speaking up about it?
Well, that's a good point too. It's like, maybe part of the problem is that Wizards is trying to cater to too many audiences. In a lot of ways, which obviously I'm happy they do, because
they've got a good game from it, I think.
Yeah, they really do. But I mean, think about how many formats they have to think about all the time. And I know they say they don't think about them, but they do. Like, that's just a bunch of baloney. Yeah. Like, they obviously think about Commander at this point. Like, that has probably been their best-selling product in the last couple of years. Like, or Angle even. Yeah, and
even if it isn't like the top one, I'm sure they're seeing all that, like, meat off the bone and saying, thank goodness we are working on this now. Yeah.
Thank God somebody somewhere decided that legendary creatures should be outside of the game in some weird zone called the command zone, and that you should build a 100-card singleton deck around that. Yeah. Or it has to be informed by this card, and
overall, I was gonna say one other thing I forgot.
I don't know. I got a lot of silence going on. Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. If you think about it, bring it up.
Yeah, I will, hopefully.
Because I think that's our last card to talk about. We're going to move on to our next topic, which is pre-release.
So, Steve
I attended.
I was running them.
Yeah, so Eric was pretty busy all weekend. Yeah. I got to go have fun. I will say this limited experience compared to a lot of my previous limited experiences has been really, really dull. Like,
it's because I wasn't playing Two-Headed Giant.
Well, that's part of it, I'm sure. But I just didn't feel like the pool was very good. Like, if you weren't playing dinosaurs, you're probably going to lose, in my opinion, from what I saw. I saw a few pirate decks rolling around that were pretty good, but for the most part, dinosaurs just seem to be dominant, which is fine. Whatever. It's limited.
They're dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs.
They beat merfolk and pirates and vampires.
They beat both of those things on my side, for sure. Two cards that I wanted to highlight. I think, did I bring 2 or 3? I think
we'll
2.
See. I think 2, yeah.
2 cards that I wanted to highlight in particular that I fought against that just, I wasn't even aware of until I ran into them during the pre-release. This guy, Frilled Death Spitter. This is an amazing card for limited. So it's 2 colors and a red, 3/2, with a merge that basically just says you deal damage to me, I'll deal 2 damage to you. Obviously you can't kill creatures with this or anything like that, but that little bit of a barrier, like you can't swing because this thing is going to get you to a really big red zone. Like you go down to 4 life in this format and you're probably dead to a spell, because there is a spell going out there that says pay 5 mana, instant speed, deal 4 damage to target player or target creature. So I mean, you're just dead. So really cool card. Really liked it. Played against it a few times. Got my butt kicked by it a few times. If you want to move on to the next one. And this one's basically the same thing except for creature removal. So you deal damage to it. It deals 5 damage to one of your creatures.
Yep. So you can kill a 7/7 essentially with this guy. Yeah.
So really it just kind of gummed up the board a lot. Made it so I didn't want to swing with my pirates or my merfolks or anything I was playing, because I can't remember what exactly I was going to put together for the first. My pool in the first time was so bad that I was just like, no, I'm not going to do this to myself.
And you came back for noon, right?
Yeah, I did. Just because I always feel bad when I get into pre-release and I don't play because my pool is just so terrible. And part of that is just me being a quitter and not wanting to stay up all night.
It's something I think I talked to Bobby about it just yesterday. Is that worth it? Some people, we could do a 6 a.m. and just be come in and play real early.
Yeah, instead of real late.
Real late, yeah.
Because that is one thing I have been experiencing, not the last time, but the time before, where I also got a terrible pool. It's just I know I'm not going to be able to win with this. I know I'm not going to be able to do hardly anything with this. I know I'm not going to stay for all the rounds because I'm not going to be here till 8 o'clock in the morning, because I want to come at noon o'clock tomorrow and play the game.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah. So it's just and that might just be. Yeah. I honestly really like the midnight release. I think it's a lot of fun, or at least it has been in the past, because it's almost like a huge party that you feel like you're exclusive because you're there with all the people that are really into pre-releases and Magic, because no one isn't going to be there. You know what I mean?
They'll be there for a round or two or whatever.
No one's going to be there painting models or whatever at midnight. So stuff like that.
Yeah, and I agree. As far as the shop thing, people are there already for F&M. Why not just go into pre-release? But it's tough. This is way off on a tangent, but it's good.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
we get to talk about whatever we want.
But it's tough. It's tough to say, should we adjust our schedule? Should we hire poor Bobby and poor me next time? We've got Dominaria coming up in April, and it's we all take a turn, and my turn's coming up next. So maybe after that we'll say, okay, no more of these. Let's start at 6 o'clock.
Or you could be a jerk and change it for this one. Just be oh, sorry guys.
Well, now it's on record, so that would be really, really mean. Yeah. That wouldn't be good.
That would be funny though.
Yeah. April Fools, guess what? We're changing this just for this one. Sorry guys.
Yeah, oops.
Seth, you're up next for M19.
Yeah, is that the last card I pulled up? Let's check real quick.
I think it is. Oh no.
Oh no, yeah. So I did get to fight against Nazahal once. Greg actually pulled it in his pool at the noon release, and when I played against him, he actually lost, but from what I know, he actually did really good with the card. Obviously, it's a limited all-star. It's a command. Mm-hmm. It, to me, is an all-star all around.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this becomes a control finisher.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about this card 3 other times, but it's just that good. There's so much about this card that I really, really like. And it's just the only thing I saw Greg kind of because obviously I didn't know what he was doing because I was on the other side of the table. Exactly. But the only thing I really saw Greg struggle with a little bit was keeping enough cards in his hand to actually prevent it from being removed. But if you kind of get past that, it really just becomes a huge asset because you end up drawing cards because of its abilities anyway. So you're just do I really need these 2 spells and blah, or do I really need this creature to finish this game?
Yep.
I would
keep
probably
him
say,
around.
Yeah. And that's the one big mistake he really made with him, is he never swung with the thing. He just kept it as a 7/7 blocker, and it's just what are you doing, Greg? This guy's ridiculous. I would have lost half my field over the last 3 turns if he would have been swinging at me.
Just to try to kill it or, chump it or something.
Well, yeah, because 20 life points goes down really fast. It's 7 a time. So
yeah, sure does.
But anyway, that was just kind of I just like this card, and I wish I would have pulled it in pre-release.
Yeah. A huge bomb.
Yeah. I was just to bring up as a last little thing, I think I did get Azor in my pre-release pack, so that was something cool. I didn't really see a whole lot of stuff that I really necessarily wanted, just from my experiences pre-release. Usually, and I think a lot of this has
Commander, cool artifact foil or something.
I think a lot of this has to do because it's exclusively tribal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of cards don't necessarily mean anything to me because I don't have those tribes built. Like, I'm looking for Merfolk and then maybe dinosaurs for Brandy, but overall I don't need any pirates, and I'll take any vampires you'll give me, but I have plenty. Like wizards, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're good with that, aren't we?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So I'd say we've definitely talked about it, and as always, we like to hear your guys' feedback. So leave us a comment in the comment section. Let us know if you like our ramblings, I guess.
This was kind of a chock-full episode. I thought it'd be a little bit quicker, but
no, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is.
We'll keep you up to date as far as the previous topics we talked about, as far as like YouTube and Wizard policies. I don't think YouTube will change much, but I think Wizards has the potential to either
solidify, hopefully, and
do some good things or some bad things, and hopefully it's more of the good things.
Yeah, we'll see.
But with that, we will see you guys next time, and we've talked about it.
Thank you.